UFC 318. It's a big fight week, man. Just trying to put up the UFC 318 fight card. Again, guys, UFC 318. UFC 318. UFC 318 fight week. Main card. It's not the best main card, but we do have some solid fights up here. Dustin Poirier's last fight, or at least last fights in the UFC. Poirier's last fights in the UFC. He's facing Max Holloway. It's a big main event. Massive main event. I want to know your thoughts, man. What are your thoughts? UFC 318 fight week. We're live, man. We're live. Where are you guys? You guys asleep? In South Africa, it's around 9 p.m. now. So where you guys at? Which part of the world are you from? Let me know. Since I'm still waiting for you guys, I'm gonna go ahead and post my predictions. Max Holloway, Poirier. It's the third fight. The first fight was a competitive fight. Poirier won the first one by submission. He submitted Holloway. It was a big win for him. They were both young guys. I think Poirier was 23 at the time. Holloway was the youngest guy in the UFC at the time when they first fought. I think Max Holloway was 20 years old. The second time they fought, Poirier was in the top 5 in the lightweights. Holloway was the champion at featherweights. He was coming off a win from the Brian Ortega fight. Now they're doing it for the third time, man. It's the third fight. Poirier, Max Holloway. I cannot wait for that fight, man. That fight is going to be violence. Listen, if you have friends that do not watch the UFC, please tell them to tune in for this fight. If they're not going to watch the whole main card or the whole pay-per-view or even the prelims, if they're not going to watch the prelims, tell them tune in. UFC 318. The BMF is on the fighting for the BMF. It's a big fight, man. Listen, for this fight, I think it's going to be competitive. But, man, I think Holloway needs this win. I know it's Poirier's last fight, and I know that Poirier beat Holloway 2 times already. So, Poirier is the favorites coming into this fight. But I feel like when guys start talking about retiring, they start talking about walking away from the sport. I don't think this is the sport where you should be talking about walking away. I think it's better if you just have your last fight and you just retire. You keep quiet, you go in there, you fight, and you retire. If you start talking about retiring before the fight is over, before you've had your last fight. Again, guys, I'm at a truck stop, so it's a bit noisy here. I just parked the truck. If for those of you that are new, that don't know me, it's at Zar-Kombat. I do MMA predictions. I react to MMA fights, and I'm also a truck driver in South Africa. So that's why there's the noise there. But again, UFC 318 fight week. It's a big main event. I'm doing the predictions. Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier. Poirier's last fight. I think it's gonna be a sad night in Louisiana. I think Holloway gets the W, man. I think Holloway gets the W. What do you think? I think it's gonna be a war. I don't think anyone's gonna get knocked out. I think Poirier. I think Holloway is gonna do enough to get the W. I think it's gonna be a unanimous decision for Max Holloway. Listen, that's I know Max Holloway lost to Ilia Topuria. Ilia Topuria is an animal right now. He's the pound for pound #1 fighter in the world. So losing to him is not really much of you can't put a man down for losing to Ilia Topuria. But Max Holloway, man, Max Holloway, I think Max Holloway gets the W in that one. I think Max Holloway gets a unanimous decision victory over Dustin Poirier. That's my prediction for the fight, guys. What do you think? What do you think? Tell me below. What do you think? Main events of UFC 318. I've got Max Holloway beating Dustin Poirier in his retirement fights. I think Max Holloway is going to have too much cardio. I think Max Holloway coming in as the younger guy is going to be too much for Poirier. I think he's going to be big. He's going to be strong. He took some time off, Max Holloway, since he lost to Ilia Topuria. And also, Dustin Poirier has been gone, man, for a long time. The last time he fought was last year in May when he lost to Islam Makhachev. It was a good fight, but I think Poirier was a bit slow in that fight. He did say he was injured, but you never know. You never know what goes on in training camp. But for this fight, for the main event, I've got Max Holloway, guys. I've got Max Holloway winning. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Comment below, man. Comment below. What's your prediction? It's a big fight. It's a big fight in Louisiana. It's in New Orleans. Massive fights. I think Holloway gets the W, guys. I think Holloway gets the W. Max Holloway, again. Before I move on to the co-main events, UFC 318. Max Holloway is keeping the BMF. Max Holloway is keeping the BMF. He's beating Dustin Poirier by unanimous decision. That's my prediction, man. That is my prediction. Come on, guys. Where are you guys? Tell me below. Comments. And follow at Zar-Kombat. It's a big main event. Big main event. Two legends in the game. Two guys who always go to war. Two real BMFs. Two guys that are the last of a dying breed. On Saturday, we're seeing Dustin Poirier put the gloves down in his hometown. Unfortunately, I think he loses though. I think Poirier loses the fight. I think Max Holloway is gonna be too much for Dustin Poirier, man. Listen, at UFC 318, it's gonna be a sad night either way. Cause if Dustin Poirier wins, it means that Max Holloway is now on a 2-fight losing He's on a 2-fight losing skid, excuse me. He's on a 2-fight losing skid. And if Max Holloway wins, it means that Dustin Poirier loses in his retirement fights. If Max Holloway wins, Dustin Poirier loses. If Dustin Poirier wins, Max Holloway loses another fight. So for us MMA fans, it's gonna be a sad night either way. But I'm gonna enjoy the main event. It's a big fight, man. It's a big fight between two absolute animals. Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier 3. I cannot wait for that fight. Cannot wait for that fight. There's not a lot of people in the live stream, but there's one person online. Comment below. Tell me where you're from. Tell me where you're watching from. I'm in South Africa. I'm in South Africa right now. We're doing the UFC 318 predictions. UFC 318 predictions. Dustin Poirier's last fights. Opix, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Opix is saying, let's go, Dustin. Saying, let's go, Dustin. Man, listen. It's going to be a sad night either way. If Poirier wins, Max Holloway loses. If Max Holloway wins, Dustin Poirier loses. And I love both guys. They're both animals. They always give us wars. They're last of a dying breed. But all I know is that on Saturday, man, I'm gonna enjoy the fights, and I'm gonna try not to cry when the other guy loses. But may the best man win. But again, my prediction for the main events, I think Holloway wins, guys. I think Holloway wins. There's another comment here, Gregory Mier. He says, I don't know, bro. I think Max loses the fight. Big loss in his last fights. Yeah, Max Holloway's last fight was a big loss for him, but he did lose to the #1 pound for pound guy in the world. You know, he lost to Max Holloway lost to a guy who's undefeated, who's never been beaten before. He's looking like Ilia Topuria is on his way to becoming the best MMA fighter we've ever seen. If he wins the welterweight belt, he's the greatest fighter in UFC history. And I don't care what anyone says. If he goes up and he beats the winner of Jack Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev, Ilia Topuria is the greatest. So his loss, Max Holloway's loss to Ilia Topuria, I think people are gonna get over it really soon when Ilia becomes the biggest guy in the UFC. But back to UFC 318, it's a big main event. There's another comment. OPX is saying, I think Max wins. Bro, you just commented that Dustin is gonna win, and now you're saying Max is gonna win. Listen, either way, at the end of the night, we're gonna be sad because one guy has to lose. I think Max gets the job done. I think it's going to be a unanimous decision for Max, because I still think that performance against Justin Gaethje, man, that what he did, what Max Holloway did to Justin Gaethje last year at UFC 300s is enough for me to believe that he's going to beat Dustin Poirier. That's just my prediction. OPX is saying he's supporting Dustin. Yeah, I see you've got Dustin Poirier on your biopic. So may the best man win. Let's move on to the co-main event. I was hoping that the UFC would try and put on a better co-main event. But man, having Paulo Costa in the co-main event of a big pay-per-view in 2025, man, that's a bad job by the UFC, man. Paulo Costa, ever since he lost to Israel Adesanya, he's been just He's been going down, man. He's been going down. He doesn't fight like he used to. He's been pulling out of fights, and to have Paulo Costa in the co-main event in 2025 doesn't make sense. But he's fighting a guy that always puts on bangers in Roman Kapilov. If you guys don't know who Roman Kapilov is, please go watch his highlights. I don't know. There's this guy that he knocked out with a head kick KO. I don't know what his name is. I forgot on which pay-per-view that was. But just go on YouTube and Google Roman Kapilov head kick KO win. That for me is enough for me to believe that. Sorry guys. Let me try and okay, we're back. Again, the co-main events, I'm going with Roman Kapilov. I think Roman Kapilov is entering his prime. I'm not sure how old Paulo Costa is, but I know that Paulo Costa is pushing 35 now. He's not the fighter he was in 2018 when he beat Uriah Hall. He's not the fighter he was when he had that war with Romel Guerrero back in 2019. He's been having a lot of injuries and he's been pulling out of a lot of fights. He pulled out of the Khamzat fights, I think twice, and a couple other fights. I know this fight, Paulo Costa versus Roman Kapilov, was supposed to happen at UFC 316. Yeah, it was supposed to be at International Fight Week. Paulo Costa pulled out. I think it was an injury. He's back in the co-main events against an animal in Roman Kapilov, who I think is coming off of a win. But there's a comment here. Gregory Maya is saying that they're both 34. I'm assuming he's saying that Paulo Costa and Roman Kapilov are both 34. But man, even if that's the case, I think Roman Kapilov wants this win a bit more than Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa, man, he's been taking a couple L's in his last fight. So with this one, I'm going to have to go TKO Roman Kapilov. What do you think, guys? What do you think? I think Paulo Costa would also win because he's faced better, much more elite fighters than Roman Kapilov. But, you know, in MMA, you need to have that hunger. You need to have that hunger that you need to, I don't know, man, like, I think Paulo Costa is really accepted that he's not going to get the belts. There's too many animals right now with middleweights. Dricus du Plessis, he's from South Africa. I'm also from South Africa. I think Dricus du Plessis is going to retire with the belts. I think he's beating Khamzat in August. I think he's going to retire with the belt. And the top five, we've got Paulo Pujalio there. We've got Nasruddin Imavov. They're fighting in September. Absolute animals. We've got Robert Whittaker, he's still in there. We've got Jared Cannonier. We've got all these other guys, man. We've also got MVP entering the top 15 at middleweights. And so I don't think Paulo Costa can compete with any of those guys anymore. I don't think he has the hunger. So in the co-main event, my official prediction, I think the fight is 3 rounds. Normally co-main events in pay-per-views are 5 rounds. I think this one is 3 rounds. I don't know if you guys know, please tell me below. Is this fight between Roman Kapilov 5 rounds or is it 3 rounds? But I think it's 3. I think it's 3 rounds. And I've got Roman Kapilov getting the W in that fight. I've got Roman Kapilov getting the W in that fight. I think he's gonna get an early TKO. If it's not an early TKO for Roman Kapilov, I think he's gonna pull off a unanimous decision or a split decision, or I think it goes to decision for Roman Kapilov, man. My official prediction: Paulo Costa versus Roman Kapilov. Roman Kapilov either TKO early round 1 or early round 2, or it goes the distance and Roman Kapilov enters the top 15. Or I think he's in the top 15 already, I'm not sure. But I think he beats Paulo Costa. It's my prediction for the co-main. I was hoping the UFC would get a better co-main event for such a big pay-per-view for Dustin Poirier's last fight. But, you know, we take what they give us. But again, my official prediction for Costa versus Roman Kapilov. Roman Kapilov, round 1 TKO or early round 2 TKO, or it goes 3 rounds, it goes the distance, and I think Roman Kapilov gets the W, man. I think he's a better striker, in my opinion, from what I've seen from Roman Kapilov. He seems like a better striker than Paulo Costa. But that's my prediction for the co-main. It's my prediction for the co-main event, boys. I've got Roman Kapilov. What's your prediction for the co-main? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Tell me below. Tell me below. Comments. And tell me where you're watching this from, man. Tell me where you're watching this from and what time is it in your country. Again, I'm in South Africa. I'm at a place called Mpangeni. You can hear a few trucks in the back. I'm at a truck stop. So yeah, before I move on to the another fights, official prediction for the co-main event: Paulo Costa versus Roman Kapilov. I've got Roman Kapilov, round 1 TKO, round 2 early TKO, or it goes to decision. Either way, Roman Kapilov is getting the W. Roman Kapilov is getting the W. And then we've got the main man, Kevin Holland. It feels like Kevin Holland fights at every pay-per-view. I think the man fights like 5 times a year, man. I think this is his this is his 3rd fight. Kevin Holland, 3rd fight in 7 months, which is insane. Imagine, he's had to go through 3 training camps. Now, if you guys don't know how brutal training camps are, go to your local gym and get a gym membership and just work out 3 times a day for like 3 weeks. 3 times a day for 3 weeks. That's a training camp. And Kevin Holland has had 3 training camps in 7 months. He fought back at UFC 311 against Renier Derrida. He took an L in that fight. He lost by a submission. Again, Renier Derrida, another animal in the middleweight division. Listen, this middleweight division is so stacked right now. We've got Renier Derrida there. We've got the champ DDP. We've got MVP. We've got Khalil Bohali. We've got Nazardini Marvov. We've got Marvin Vettori. We've got Brendan Allen. We've got who else? Robert Whittaker, the Reaper. That middleweight division is so stacked. But for this fight, Kevin Holland is coming back down to his natural weight class. The weight class that I believe he should always be fighting in, because that's where he's ranked and that's where he has an advantage over most guys. When Kevin Holland is fighting at welterweight. He's bigger than most guys. He seems to be a bit faster. He doesn't really struggle with the grappling because he's bigger than most of the guys at middleweight. But he's back. He's back at welterweight. And I'm happy he's back because at middleweight he's always struggling. At 311 he fought against Renya Tereda and he lost at middleweight because RTR was way bigger than him. But Kevin Holland again, such an animal. This is his third fight in 7 months, and that is insane. 3 fights in 7 months for Kevin Holland. 3 training camps. He lost at UFC 311 to Renya Tereda. He fought at UFC London against against Gunnar Nelson. Can't remember if he won or he lost that fight. I remember he was in a deep submission and Gunnar Nelson had him in an armbar. He had him in a standing armbar. Can't remember. I think he won that fight. And that fight was at welterweight against Gunnar Nelson. So he got a W. Kevin Holland, he got a win at welterweight, and he's coming back down again to welterweight to face the Mexican gangster Daniel Rodriguez. Another animal that's coming off a big victory. He got the TKO. No, he got a KO. He got a KO finish at UFC Iowa. Yeah. Daniel Rodriguez is coming off of a win at UFC Iowa. Not sure who he fought, but I remember he won by KO in that fight. He's facing Kevin Holland. So both Kevin Holland and Daniel Rodriguez are coming off massive wins. They're back at welterweight, and one of these guys has to lose this week live on pay-per-view at UFC 318. And listen, I've got a prediction. Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez. I think Kevin Holland is going to be faster. I think Kevin Holland has the better striking. And I think overall, Kevin Holland is just the better MMA fighter. Plus, Kevin Holland is younger than Daniel Rodriguez. We have to remember that, guys. Kevin Holland is younger than Daniel Rodriguez. Daniel Rodriguez, I think he's around 36, 37 now. Kevin Holland is, I think he's 30 years old. Kevin Holland is 30 years old. He's just entering his prime. He's fighting in his proper weight class. So Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez. I've got Kevin Holland TKO. Kevin Holland is usually fights out of the orthodox stance. Daniel Rodriguez is a southpaw. And usually when it's southpaw versus orthodox fighters, the southpaw usually gets the W because the left hand is always there, the counter left hand. But Daniel Rodriguez is older than Kevin Holland, is a bit slower, he's stiffer. So for that reason and that reason alone, Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez. I've got Daniel Rodriguez, man. No, sorry. I've got Kevin Holland. I've got Kevin Holland winning that fight. Again, Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez. I think Rodriguez is getting the W. But what do you think? Tell me below, comment below. Kevin Holland versus Yair. No, versus Daniel Rodriguez. Big fights at welterweights. Two top 15 welterweights are gonna clash for violent welterweight fights. Both coming off wins, but I think Kevin Holland has got much more experience, and I think he gets the W. I've got Kevin Holland, Daniel Rodriguez versus Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland, unanimous decision. Or maybe a submission, maybe a TKO, I'm not really sure. But I think Kevin Holland gets the W. UFC 318, big fight card. Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez. Kevin Holland gets the W. Maybe a late TKO, maybe a submission. I don't think it's going 3 rounds. Someone is getting KO'd. Someone is getting submitted. It's a big fight at welterweights. I've got Kevin Holland. But then we move on. We move on, guys. Dan Ige versus Pitbull. Dan Ige versus Patricio Pitbull. Pitbull had his UFC debut back at UFC Miami. UFC Miami was UFC 314. Patricio Pitbull had his debut. He lost that fight to Yair Rodriguez. It was a bad UFC debut, man. It was a bad UFC debut for their Patricio Pitbull. He didn't really throw anything in that fight. I was hoping he would do more. He didn't really care, or it didn't seem like he cared about the opportunity that was given to him. Listen, you're coming from another organization and you were a champion there, that's fine. You come into the UFC, you get a top 5 guy in Yair Rodriguez, and you get 30-27. You lose all 3 rounds, 10-8. That was a bad UFC debut for Patricio Pitbull, but he's back again, and now he's fighting Dan 50K Ige. Dan 50K Ige is back. The man who does not know how to lose to anyone that's not ranked in the featherweight division. For that statistic alone, I don't think Dan Ige has ever lost to anyone out of the top 15. And I don't see him losing to Patricio Pitbull. If I'm looking at Patricio Pitbull's last fights, and I look at Dan Ige's last few fights, Dan Ige has only lost to the elites at featherweights. His last loss was to Diego Lopez. Diego Lopez, you all know, is an animal. He took Volk to a decision. Plus that fight against Dan Ige, and Dan Ige's last loss was against Diego Lopez, and he took that fight on 4 hours notice. He took that fight on 4 hours notice. What an animal. A real BMF. He stepped up for the company. He's back this weekend, and he's coming off a KO. He's coming off a KO. He beats that long lanky guy. What's his name? I don't know. Sean Woodson. He beat Sean Woodson by KO in his last fights. He got the 50K. Dan 50K. Ige got the 50K in his last fights. He's back again. He's fighting the former Bellator featherweight champion, Patricio Pitbull. I think Dan Ige has got enough experience in the UFC to get this W, man. He's fought better caliber fighters, or at least He's won to better caliber fighters than Ige. He's won to better caliber fighters than Patricio Pitbull. Patricio Pitbull has some elite fighters in his resume, but he's lost to most of them, so that doesn't really count. So my prediction for Dan 50K Ige versus Patricio Pitbull, I think Dan Ige gets the unanimous decision. I think Dan Ige gets the unanimous decision. I think Pitbull it's gonna be a competitive fight. Pitbull will take Ige to deep waters, but man, like that last performance against Yair Rodriguez was a bad one. So Dan 50K Ige versus Patricio Pitbull. I've got Dan Ige winning that fight, man. I've got Dan Ige winning that fight. I think Dan Ige gets the decision. Official prediction: Dan Ige versus Patricio Pitbull. Dan Ige gets the W. Tell me below, what do you think? Tell me below, comment below. Who do you think is gonna win? Dan Ige or Patricio Pitbull? I think Pitbull is losing this fight. He's 37 years old. Dan Ige is 33 years old. Patricio Pitbull is losing that fight. Patricio Pitbull is losing that fight to Dan Ige. Again, guys, please forgive me for the noise. I'm at a truck stop. There's a whole lot of trucks behind me, and they're making a bunch of noise. So, I hope you guys can hear me though. But again, my official prediction for Dan Ige versus Patricio Pitbull. I'm gonna let this truck go by so you guys can hear me clearly. Okay, we're back. My official prediction for Dan Ige versus Patricio Pitbull. I've got Dan Ige winning by decision. I've got Dan Ige winning by decision. Again, guys, I'm at a truck stop, so forgive me for the noise. Again, man, Dan 50K Ige versus Patricio Pitbull. Patricio Pitbull gets the W. That's my prediction. That's my official prediction for that fight. And then listen, I know that Max Holloway versus Poirier 3 is a lot of people's favorite fights on the main card. But this fight against Michael Johnson versus Daniel Zar-Kombat, that would be such a banger fight, man. Michael Johnson, I think, has never been in a UFC fight that has been boring. He has never been in a boring fight in the UFC ever since he made his debut, if I am not mistaken, man. Daniel Zar-Kombat, he had that epic fight at the Sphere against Ribovics. So yeah, this is my anticipated fights this week. The legend, the only man, Michael Johnson, the only man that can beat Khabib, the only man that can beat Ilia Topuria, the only man that can beat Tom Aspinall, the only man that can beat Islam Makhachev, the only man that can beat all those guys, just to lose to Michael Chandler, just to lose to Patricio Pitbull, just to lose to all these fighters that are not elites. Michael Johnson, my GOAT, my favorite lightweight in the world right now. He's back this weekend and he's fighting an animal, man. He's fighting a guy that's going to give him a war. He's fighting a guy that does not shy away from an animal fight. He's fighting a guy that does not shy away from a barn burner in Daniel Zar-Kombat. Listen, if you have not watched Michael Johnson fights, please go watch Michael Johnson versus Justin Gaethje. Again, if you have not watched Michael Johnson fights, go watch Michael Johnson versus Justin Gaethje. He lost that fight, but that fight is one of my favorite fights ever. If you have not watched Michael Johnson, please go watch Michael Johnson versus Dustin Poirier. The last guy to knock out, one of the two guys to knock out Dustin Poirier in the last decade. The other guy to knock out Dustin Poirier was your Justin Gaethje when he won the BMF. But Michael Johnson, man, he's a stud. He's an animal. Always puts on banger fights. He's back this weekend. He's fighting another animal, Daniel Zar-Kombat. If you do not know who Daniel Zar-Kombat is, listen to me. Go to YouTube when I'm done on live. Go to YouTube and please, if you do not know who Daniel Zar-Kombat is, go to YouTube after you're done watching my live. Google or search for Daniel Zar-Kombat versus Ribovics at the Sphere. If you do not know who this man is, Daniel Zar-Kombat, go to YouTube when I'm done and watch Daniel Zar-Kombat. Search for Daniel Zar-Kombat versus Ribovics at the Sphere. He lost that fight, but man, it was one of the best fights in UFC history, man. There's an issue here on my live. YouTube issues warning messages to channels for violating the community guidelines, typically for the first violation. Listen, YouTube is saying I'm violating the guidelines. I don't know what. I'm keeping it PG. I'm just talking about violence, but we're still live. Again, man, my pick for fights of the night this weekend, Michael Johnson, the GOAT, is back. He's fighting an animal in Daniel Zar-Kombat. I'm going to tell you guys again, if you don't know who Michael Johnson is, go watch his fight against Dustin Poirier. If you don't know who Michael Johnson is, go watch his fight against Justin Gaethje. If you do not know who Michael Johnson is, go watch his fights against there was that fight he had at UFC, I think it was in December last year. That remember that card for Jaquan Buckley versus Kobe Covington? Michael Johnson was on that fight. He faced that guy from Egypt. There's that lightweight that's from Egypt. I can't remember his name. But that fight, man, listen, it was an epic fight. It was a war. He won that fight by vicious KO. So if you don't know who Michael Johnson is, go Google his highlights on YouTube and go check him out. If you do not know who Daniel Zar-Kombat is, I'm going to put you guys on. Daniel Zar-Kombat, when you're done when you're done watching this live, and when you're done subscribing to my YouTube, search for Daniel Zar-Kombat versus Ribovics. Now, Daniel Zar-Kombat lost that fight, but it was one of the best fights in UFC history, man. One of the best fights. So, my prediction for the fights that I think is going to be fights of the night on Saturday, I think Michael Johnson gets the W, man. I think Michael Johnson fighting. Daniel Zar-Kombat tends to put his chin up and his hands down whenever he's fighting. So, and now Michael Johnson, in all of his fights, even though he loses sometimes, he always finds a way to either get that right hook or that straight left that always hurts these guys. And as much as Daniel Zar-Kombat is Mexican, he's got a chin on him. I think my GOAT, my lightweight GOAT, the only man who can lose to Michael Chandler and beat Ilia Topuria in the same night, Michael Johnson. I think Michael Johnson gets the W. That's my prediction for the fight that I think is going to be the best fights. Is Michael Johnson, man. What do you guys think? Michael Johnson versus Daniel Zar-Kombat is my prediction for fights of the night. It's my prediction for fights of the night. It's a big one. Greg the Butcher is saying, I think it's someone. I don't think it's you, bro. I think it's someone's comments. Oh yeah. Thank you, bro. I think it's someone's comments, man. I guess someone is violating the guidelines. Please, guys, if you're gonna comment, please keep it PG, man. I don't want to get canceled on YouTube, cause YouTube keeps commenting here that someone is violating the guidelines. But yeah, man, back to the predictions. Before I go to the prelims, I'm gonna go back to my main card predictions. I'm gonna start from the first fight of the night. My prediction for my fight of the night on Saturday: Michael Johnson versus Daniel Zar-Kombat. Michael Johnson, the lightweight GOAT, he's getting the W. And then we move on to Dan Ige. Dan 50K Ige is back. He's fighting the former Bellator champion in Patricio Pitbull. Dan Ige gets the win. I think he gets the unanimous decision. Patricio Pitbull is pushing 40 years old. He had a bad debut. He lost to an elite fighter, but he didn't have any massive moments in that fight. Yair Rodriguez shuts him down. And Dan Ige does not lose to someone that is not ranked. So Dan 50K Ige versus Patricio Pitbull. I think Dan Ige gets the W. And then we move on to Kevin Holland versus Yair Rodriguez. No. Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez. Again, guys, I'm at a truck stop, so there's noise. I'm outside. I'm gonna try to be as loud as I can so you can hear my predictions. Just bear with me, guys. Please bear with me. We're back to Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez. Two fighters that are coming off W's. Two ranked welterweight fighters. And I think Kevin Holland gets the submission in this one. Kevin Holland is the better striker, the better grappler. I think he's got way better grappling than Daniel Rodriguez. So for that reason, I'm going with Kevin Holland by submission. That's my pick for Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez. It's my official prediction. And then we move on to the disappointing co-main events. Wish the UFC could have gave us a better co-main event, but we're gonna take what they give us. Paulo Costa versus Roman Kapilov. I think Kapilov is the hungrier fighter. Kapilov is the better striker. Roman Kapilov is just the better fighter at the moment, man. So I think Roman Kapilov either gets a TKO in round 1 or round 2. If he doesn't get the TKO in early round 1 or early round 2, then it goes the decision. And I've got Roman Kapilov. Either winning by decision or early round 1 or early round 2 KO. Roman Kapilov. And then the big one, the Diamond's Last Dance. It's gonna be a sad night for MMA fans all around the world. Dustin Poirier versus Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway. Last fight. It's gonna be a sad night. It's gonna be a sad night. I think it's gonna be a sad retirement, man. It's gonna be a sad retirement for the hometown boy, Dustin Poirier. I think Max Holloway gets the W, guys. I'm picking Holloway. I'm picking Holloway to be the first man ever to retain the BMF belt. Every time we fight for the BMF, no one retains. It's always and new. But this one, it's and still. Max Holloway is getting the W at UFC 318. Max Holloway is getting the W. I think it goes 5 rounds, and I think Holloway gets enough to get the unanimous decision. Or split decision. Either way, it's going to be a fun fight. It's going to be a sad night at the end of the night. But we're going to enjoy the fight. Two absolute legends. Two future Hall of Famers. My prediction, Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier. Max Holloway, he's on a fight set range. Max Holloway, he's gonna have the better cardio. Max Holloway is gonna stop takedowns from Dustin Poirier. And I think Max Holloway gets the W, guys. But what are your predictions? Comment below. Please do not be shy. Please do not be shy on the stream. Tell me your comments. Tell me where you're from. Tell a friend to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Tell them if they love MMA. I've got a whole bunch of videos reacting to all the past pay-per-views, the past fights, Tell them to watch. Tell them to like. Tell them to subscribe. And tell them to support the boy, man, at Zar-Kombat, Zar-Kombat, at Zar-Kombat, all the way from South Africa. Support the homeboy. If you love MMA and if you love UFC, subscribe to my channel. I've got a whole bunch of predictions for future fights. I've got a whole bunch of reactions to all the pay-per-views. All my reactions to all your favorite fighters winning, to all your favorite fighters losing. It's a good reaction. I've got good reactions, man. I am not a casual. I follow MMA like it's a part of my life, because it is. So yeah, man, subscribe, like, hit the notification button. I will be live this Saturday to react to the entire pay-per-view. We're live for the entire pay-per-view this Saturday. So yeah, man, be make sure to check out the boy. This Saturday, I'm live all the way from South Africa. I'm done with the main event predictions. Let's go to the prelims. Again, guys, I am at a truck stop. There's a bunch of trucks, so forgive me for the noise. We're gonna go to the prelims now. I haven't done my predictions for the prelims. This fight against Vinicius Oliveira versus Kyler Phillips is one of the best fights the UFC has on this card. If you do not know who Vinicius Oliveira is, listen, Vinicius Oliveira is one of the best up-and-comers in the UFC now. Vinicius Oliveira is one of the best up-and-comers in the UFC right now. He's my favorite fighter at featherweight that is not ranked. My favorite fighter outside of the top 15 at featherweight is the man that is fighting this weekend, and he's getting an opportunity to be ranked, but he's not getting an easy fight. He's fighting the guy that always enters the matrix when he's in there, in Kyler Phelps. Kyler Phelps is not an easy fight for any featherweight, but Vinicius Oliveira will make his he's gonna make it an easy fight. Vinicius Oliveira will make it loose easy. Again, guys, I'm at a truck stop. Forgive me for the noise. We're doing the predictions for UFC 318. We're on to the prelims now. My favorite fighter outside of the top 15 at featherweights is fighting this weekend. Vinicius Oliveira versus Kyler Phelps. Vinicius is my favorite fighter in featherweight division right now. He's gonna make it look easy against Kyler Phelps. Kyler Phelps is not an easy fight for any of the other fighters at featherweights except for Oliveira. Oliveira is gonna throw a lot of leg kicks. He's gonna throw a lot of calf kicks. He's gonna throw body shots. He's gonna hurt Kyler Phelps early in the rounds, and he's gonna get a TKO round 3 or maybe late in round 2. My prediction for Oliveira, the best fighter at featherweight right now, it's not ranked. He's getting the W this weekend, and he's beating Kyler Phelps. That's my prediction, boys. We move on. We've got bad blood in this one. We've got bad blood in this one. Let me try and get the right angle for you guys. Marvin Vettori versus Brendan Allen. If you don't know, they had a scrap at a PFL events. I don't know which PFL events it was. I don't really watch the PFL that much. I only watch the big fights. But they had a crazy scrap, and they had a scrap. Apparently, Vettori's team said a couple words to Brendan Allen's crew, and then it was a war from then. But that doesn't matter. They're fighting this weekend. They're gonna bury the bad blood. Sorry, the bad blood at UFC 318 this weekend. And I think Brendan Allen has got the tools to beat Marvin Vettori. I think Brendan Allen has all the tools to beat Marvin Vettori. Marvin Vettori is very, I don't want to say he's a basic MMA striker, but he is an old-fashioned. He doesn't bounce a lot. He doesn't move around. He's always there to get hits. He doesn't stick and move. So I think Brendan Allen gets a submission or a decision. But he's not going to knock out Marvin Vettori. Brendan Allen versus Marvin Vettori. My official prediction, Brendan Allen, submission or unanimous decision. We move on to another banger fight in the lightweight division. We've got the returning Prado versus this guy from Kyrgyzstan or wherever the country is. Can't pronounce his name, but judging from his surname and where he's from, he must be an elite fighter. But I don't really know much about this fight. I do know who Prado is. He's an animal all the way from Argentina. He's been putting on banger fights for a couple pay-per-views now. So I'm not sure who wins this one. But because Prado is fighting, it will be a war. I will be watching. I will be live on YouTube live for the prelims. I will be reacting to this fight and all the other fights on the prelims and the main card. Don't have a prediction for this one, but if I were to guess, I'm going Prado. because he puts on banger fights every time he's in there. We move on. And this fight is at featherweights. Don't really know who these two guys are. Please don't call me a casual. I do not know who they are. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Don't really have a prediction, but because I am from South Africa, I'm gonna have to go with the guy from Ghana. The guy from Ghana. We move on. We've got the model, Victoria's Secret. Versace's model. He's back this weekend. It's a banger fight. At Walter, is it at welterweight? I think it's at featherweight or lightweight. I'm not sure. But I've got the model winning. Jimmy Cruz is back. Also, donation for that one. Ryan Spann, Superman, is also back. Ferreira's back. No one cares about women's MMA. Listen, guys, my phone is on 2%. I'm gonna have to end the live stream. Follow Zar-Kombat, guys. I've got other live streams. I will be live this weekend for UFC 318. So hit the notification button. And on Saturday, when you're watching the fights, please just look out for my live. I will be live for the prelims. I will be live for the main events. I will be live for the entire 6 hours of the pay-per-view. So yeah, man, like, subscribe. It's at Zar-Kombat. My Patrick's gonna be off anytime now, so yeah, please like, please subscribe. Zar-Kombat. Peace, guys. I'm out. Like, subscribe. Peace.